My mom kicked me out of my own room so her stepson could use it as an art studio. So I told my dad who pays child support, and what he did next spiraled so far out of control I ended up begging everyone to stop. I am 15. My parents separated when I was young. From what I understand, it was mutual, a combination of persistent arguments and the realization that they were not suited to each other's lives. Rather than go through a difficult legal process, they settled things between themselves. Since my dad traveled frequently for work, it was agreed that I would live with my mom while he paid child support. Both of them felt this was the arrangement that made the most sense. I did not fully understand any of this until my 12th birthday, when I finally asked my mom directly why we could not all just live together. She told me the truth. I appreciated the directness, even though it hurt more than I expected it to. I have made my peace with it since then, or I had until all of this started. That was how things stood until my mom met Daniel. She had been seeing him for about a year before she introduced him to me a few months ago. The reason she finally made the introduction was that they were planning to move in together, and she wanted to give me some time to get to know him before that happened. She was trying to be considerate, and I appreciated that. I do not hate Daniel. He can be genuinely decent company sometimes, and he is reasonably good at understanding his position. He does not try to act as though he has authority over my life or push himself into a parental role I did not ask for. He seems to understand that I have a dad already and that he is not a replacement. That part of this arrangement has been genuinely fine, which honestly surprised me. The problem is his son. Kyle also attends my high school. He transferred recently, so we both know who the other one is. We have established an unspoken arrangement to pretend we do not know each other when we pass in the corridor, which I think probably suits both of us equally. In the beginning, I made several attempts to make things less awkward between us, but he shut each one down with minimal apparent effort. And it is not just me. He treats my mom with the same distance. He does not want any of us, which is his right, but it is hard to watch my mom keep trying as though eventually he will change his mind. I think it is probably because his dad is a widower and he cannot get past the idea of someone new being in his father's life, but whatever the reason, he avoids all of us, and I have given up trying. What I find genuinely hardest to watch is my mom working so relentlessly to earn his approval when he has been more than clear that he is not going to give it. She keeps trying different approaches, and he keeps not responding, and I sit there watching this cycle repeat and feeling quietly furious about what it is costing her. Things became properly difficult last week. We were all at our usual Sunday dinner together when Kyle announced that he would not be able to move in with his dad at our house. My mom asked why not. Our house is considerably bigger than their current place, and it would also put him closer to school. Kyle explained that he is an art student in his final year and is serious about his portfolio for art school applications. At their current house, he uses the garage as a working studio. If he moved in with us, there would be no equivalent dedicated space. My mom's response, delivered without any pause, without any visible consideration of what it would mean for me, was to say that Kyle could have my room as his studio and that I would be very happy to move out. She announced my willingness to move on my behalf, as though it were already decided, and I was simply being informed of the plan. I was completely stunned. I said exactly what I thought, immediately and without any filter. Why was I supposed to give up my room for someone who had never extended basic decency to any of us? Why did he get both a bedroom and a studio while I was left with nothing? My mom told me to stop talking and said we would sort out my situation later. Later, as though my housing arrangement were a minor administrative detail to be resolved once the important decisions had been made. The next morning, I came downstairs fully prepared to state my position and hold it. My mom got there before I could say anything. She told me I needed to be more flexible and learn to think of others. She said it would only be 8 or 9 months, the duration of Kyle's final year, and that I could use her private office as my room. She would put a bed in there for me. The living room and the kitchen would function as my extended personal space. I could not believe what I was actually being asked to do. My mother was proposing that I sleep in her work office, study at the kitchen counter, and effectively have no private space whatsoever, for the benefit of a boy who had not once shown any of us the most basic courtesy in the time we had known him. I called my dad. I knew he still paid child support, and I knew he would be on my side. He told me not to worry, and that he would call my mom and get her to see the situation properly. A few days later, I came home from school to find my mom at the door waiting for me. She was very angry. She told me I had betrayed her by going to my dad, that she had always made sure I had what I needed, and this was the one time she had ever asked me to make any kind of adjustment, and that I had gone behind her back. She also told me that my dad had made a legal threat, that if I was not being properly cared for, if I did not have my own room, he would seek formal action. He had apparently been very clear about this. I was frightened by the force of her reaction. I ran to my room and cried for a long time. I understood, on some level, why she was angry with me. I had gone to my dad, and that had brought consequences she had not wanted. But what I kept failing to understand was how she could be the person who had suggested I sleep in her office, and still feel that I was the one who had behaved wrongly. Update 1. In the end, after enough conversations where my mom kept telling me I was being selfish and needed to make allowances for other people's situations, the guilt became heavier than the objection. I moved out of my room. Kyle moved his materials in. Since then, I have been living out of my mom's office. The living room sofa is my bed. The kitchen table is where I do my homework every evening. My clothes live in my mom's office wardrobe. It is exactly as uncomfortable and miserable as it sounds, and I want to be clear about that. This was not a reasonable temporary arrangement. This was being asked to function without a private space of any kind. The thing that finally broke my composure completely was when Kyle ate all the ice cream I had bought with my own money, specifically to make this situation marginally more bearable. My dad called at exactly that moment, and I could not hold it together. I ended up telling him everything I had been hiding from him, the sleeping arrangements, the loss of my room, all of it. He was upset and surprised that I had kept it from him. He told me he was going to take care of everything. I could not have anticipated the specific thing he chose to do. A CPS worker came to the house. She had questions for me. My mom did not let her look around. She said she needed a warrant for that, but she did agree to let her speak with me outside. After the worker left, my mom asked me directly who had called them. I told her it was almost certainly my dad. She was furious in a way I had not seen from her in a long time. She took my phone and told me I was not allowed to contact anyone. I am writing this on the computer at school. Update 2. The CPS worker came back, this time with a warrant. My dad arrived alongside them. He told me I would be coming to live with him and that he had begun the process of legally adopting me. He clearly believed he was helping me, and I understand why it looked that way to him. But this was not what I had asked for. Not even close. I cannot move in with my dad. He still travels constantly for work. Moving to his house would mean transferring schools in the middle of the year, which would be a disaster I could not recover from quickly. I have only just started finding my footing at my current school. The social landscape is new and still being established, and I am still in the process of figuring out where I fit. If I transferred mid-year, I would arrive somewhere that already had its groups sorted, its friendships formed, its rhythms established without me. I would be perpetually catching up. The subjects I actually want to study would have already been allocated, and I would have to take whatever was left over from the timetables built without me in mind. That would be genuinely, substantively worse than sleeping on a sofa. I told the CPS worker clearly, and I told my dad clearly, that I was not being abused, that I was fine, and that I did not want to leave my school or my home. My dad told me that once CPS was formally involved, the process ran on its own terms, and he could not pull it back. I am genuinely scared of where this is heading. Final update. There is some good news, finally. The CPS assessment concluded there were no grounds to label my situation as abuse or neglect. My mom retained custody of me, and I have my room back. The CPS team did raise the point that the sudden changes at home were creating emotional instability for me, but a psychological evaluation was done, and the results supported my mom's case. I took her side consistently throughout the whole process, and I believe that made a real difference to how it concluded. I have had a very difficult conversation with my dad. I told him that going straight to CPS, without warning me, without asking what I wanted, without any discussion with me at all, had taken something I wanted to be a conversation and turned it into a formal legal process. That was not what I had wanted. It was not even in the same category as what I had asked for. I had wanted him to talk to my mom. Just that. Instead, I found myself at the center of something that made life worse for everyone involved. I told him that I had overplayed how bad things were when I called him in tears, and that he should not take everything I say at complete face value when I am in that state. I told him that part of this was my fault for not being more specific about what I actually needed from him. I do not fully believe that framing of things, but I felt I owed him some acknowledgement that I had contributed to how this escalated, and that acknowledgement was what I gave him. I also apologized to my mom and to Daniel for the disruption and the stress and everything the CPS involvement had put everyone through. I want to be clear. I did not apologize for wanting my own room. I will not apologize for that because I do not believe it was wrong to want it. A 15-year-old is entitled to a room, but I apologized for how the path to getting it had looked and for the collateral damage it left behind. I have my room back. That is the main thing, and I am trying to hold on to it as the main thing. Kyle is still in the house. He is still avoidant, and my mom is still working hard to make him feel welcome, with results that have not changed. None of that part is resolved, but I am sleeping in my own bed, in my own room, which is what I wanted when any of this started. If I had known what it would actually cost to get here, I would have handled everything differently. I would have been far more precise about what I was asking my dad to do. I would have been more careful about the words I used when I was crying and upset and on a school computer. But I also know that when I was sitting on the living room sofa trying to do my homework because someone else was in my room, I was not in a state to think strategically about anything. I was 15 and upset and asking for help in the only way I knew how. I do not think I was wrong to want my own room. I do not think I was wrong to call my dad. He is my parent too. I just wish the path from that phone call to sleeping in my own room again had been considerably less destructive to everyone it passed through. I am not sure I will call my dad about something like this again in the same way. Not because I do not trust him, I do, and he loves me. But I have learned something important about how he responds when he thinks I am in trouble. He goes as far as he can go. He does the most he is capable of doing. That quality must have made a real difference in his work over the years. In this situation, it caused significant damage to several people who did not deserve it. I just wanted my room back. I have it now. That is where this story ends.